After a month of business trip, I was bored and visited a website. I didn't expect to see a familiar face on the latest page. My wife. 1. The company I work for has just started, and the salary is not low, but the disadvantage is that I need to run business frequently. I am a business manager, and business trips have become commonplace. My wife Meng Yuhan was originally a dance teacher, and she became a full-time housewife after marriage. She is very quiet and conservative, and she is usually unwilling to try many things. Considering Meng Yuhan's personality, I didn't force it. This time, I was arranged to go on a business trip by the company again, and the time was 1 month. Before leaving, Meng Yuhan packed my luggage early as usual and sent me out. I thought to myself that with such a wife, I must work harder to let her live a better life. When I arrived at the business trip location, I stayed in the hotel. I would go to the partner tomorrow to hand over. I called my wife to report safety. However, the call was delayed. I was a little confused, but I didn't think it was a big deal. After all, she didn't carry a mobile phone with her 24 hours a day. After 2 minutes, Meng Yuhan called back via video. "Honey, how do you feel over there? Are you getting used to it?" As soon as the call was connected, her gentle face appeared in my eyes. "It's fine, don't worry, I've been on business trips so many times, I've gotten used to it." I responded with a smile, but soon found something unusual. Behind Meng Yuhan, there was a yoga mat. Her face was slightly red, and she was wearing a tight yoga suit. "Honey, when did you learn yoga?" I was a little confused, but when I saw that it was yoga, I didn't think much about it. After all, it's very normal to wear yoga clothes when doing yoga. I just started learning. I'm bored at home when you leave." The panic on Meng Yuhan's face flashed away, and she used her hand to pull the upside-down box next to her and pushed it out of the camera. "That's fine, but, honey, can I wear yoga clothes when I go back?" I smiled slyly, and the picture flashed in my mind, and I was very excited. "Okay, then, I'll wait for you to come back." My wife's response made me even more excited. She actually agreed. Suddenly, my wife hummed, covered her belly with her hands, and her face looked a little unnatural. I frowned, and I felt my wife's face turned redder. "Wife, what's wrong with you? Do you have a stomachache?" I was a little anxious, thinking that she was sick because of a stomachache. "It hurts a little. I'll get some medicine. You should rest early. You still have work tomorrow." My wife seemed a little anxious. She hung up hurriedly after she finished speaking without waiting for my reply. I frowned, and I couldn't help worrying. I couldn't be with her when she was sick, and the guilt quickly surged up. I swear that I will love her more in the future. Putting down the phone, I closed my eyes, and my mind was full of my wife wearing yoga clothes. I got up, took out my phone and couldn't help but click on the website to start browsing. When I opened it, there were all kinds of pictures. I kept scrolling, and suddenly, a video that a blogger had just updated was pushed to the top. I glanced at it and was stunned for a moment. 2. The person in the video actually looks exactly like my wife. Even wearing the same yoga clothes. The environment is the same as my home. There can't be such a coincidence in the world. This person doesn't look like my wife. He is my wife. I clicked on the video in disbelief, and the content inside was extremely explosive. There are more than 50 similar videos, and the earliest one was actually released half a year ago. After my wife and I got married, we had to go on business trips almost every month, and the time varies. But, even so, she doesn't have to do this. Suddenly, there was a pain in my heart, and I covered my hands tightly, but the disbelief in my eyes still existed. I don't understand why. After a while, I followed her and started to screenshot the information. Then I started watching all her videos. At this moment, I have completely lost that idea, and my mind is full of anger and shame. If this video is seen by someone I know, what will they think of me? Suddenly, I noticed that there are men in several of my wife's videos. The men wore a mask, but what he did made me unbearable to watch. It turns out that my wife, who was so quiet and elegant in front of me, has another face. I was so angry that I was shaking all over. I wanted to call the number when I opened the dialing interface. But reason stopped me. Although these are evidences, they are not accurate, because the voice in them has been changed, and I don't know who this man is. I can't tell from his figure, let alone after the voice has been changed. I watched the video of that man repeatedly, and thought about the body shapes of men who had contact with my wife in my mind, but they were not very similar. Suddenly, all the strength in my body was drained. I put down my phone and stopped watching. A line of clear tears flowed from my eyes. Shame slapped my face. I swear, I must find this man and bring these bastards to court. The next day, I did the beginning of my work, gave an explanation to the partner, and asked for leave to go back. I want to see who this man is. When I got back to the vicinity of my home, I found a hotel and stayed there. I took out my phone and called my wife. Honey, do you miss me? I tried my best to act normal, not letting her notice my change. Honey, I'm going out to buy groceries now. Call me back when I get home. The voice on the other end of the phone was indeed the sound of hawking in the vegetable market. She didn't lie to me. After hanging up the phone, I started to think. It's only 10 minutes from my home to the vegetable market I often go to. It takes my wife half an hour to buy groceries and come back. Not enough time. I want to install a mini camera at home so that I can further control the evidence and know who the man is. About 20 minutes later, my wife called back. I chatted with her for a while without revealing any flaws. My wife was very concerned about my work and asked a lot more questions. Honey, tell me in advance before you come back so that I can cook for you. This sentence is almost every time I go on a business trip, and I tell my wife in advance. I can eat delicious meals when I go home. I originally thought my wife was so virtuous. But now I understand that this is to avoid being exposed, in order to know in advance when I will be back so that she can adjust her own time. 3. So, I stayed in the hotel for one night. At noon the next day, I sent a video to my wife, but she didn't answer for a long time. Suddenly, I sat up from the bed and realized what she might be doing. I didn't call her again, but quietly looked at the time, waiting for my wife to call back. 5 minutes later, my wife's video came. As soon as the camera was turned on, I saw some clues. My wife's hair was a little messy, and the redness on her cheeks had not faded. Husband, why are you calling me at this time? I'm cooking. My wife smiled and said. Cooking? Then you do it first, and we'll talk after dinner. After that, I hung up the phone without waiting for her to answer. I quickly thought about what to do next in my mind. I must find a reason to get my wife out of the house so that I can install a miniature camera. After leaving the hotel, I found a camera digital store and bought 4 miniature cameras at a high price. Everything is ready, except for a reason for her to leave home. After thinking about it, I came up with a solution. I turned on my phone and found the phone number of a cosmetics counter in a mall about 5 kilometers away from my home. Hello, I want to order an Andy $9.99 lipstick. Is it available in the store? The salesperson immediately said yes and asked me to arrange a time to pick it up. I added WeChat and paid the money. Let my wife go to get the lipstick, so that there is enough time to install the camera. I sat in the hotel until the afternoon and called my wife again. Wife, I ordered a lipstick for you at Jeanbo department store. When are you free to go and pick it up? After saying this, my wife looked at me with some surprise. Husband, you are so nice. I am free now. I will go to pick it up after hanging up. Looking at her smiling face, a hint of coldness flashed in my eyes. Finally, I was going out. After hanging up the phone, I sent the salesperson's phone number to my wife and told her to contact me in advance when she went. Then, I squatted under the electric vehicle charging shed outside the door of the community unit, quietly waiting for my wife to go out. More than half an hour later, my wife came downstairs with a smile on her face, making a phone call. At the same time, a black car took her away. The driver did not get out of the car, and the car window was covered with a good anti-peep film, so I could not see the person inside from the side. After the black car drove away, I wrote down the license plate number and went upstairs with a frown. I muttered in my heart. Could this car be driven by the men in the video, or was it an online car-hailing car? After all, 5 kilometers is not far, but it is definitely not close. With my wife's personality, she will definitely take a taxi. After thinking about it, I sighed and went upstairs quickly. Time is limited, and I must install all the cameras before she comes home. When I came to the bedroom, I stepped on the chair and pressed a button on the ceiling above the door of the master bedroom, and then pressed it in the living room, the second bedroom, and the study. Half an hour has passed. Now if nothing unexpected happens, my wife should start to walk back. I quickly came to the living room and saw her yoga mat and the small box that was turned upside down at a glance. Taking a deep breath, I turned the box over. In an instant, all kinds of messy things came into view. I just felt that the blood pressure in my brain rose rapidly, and the last trace of luck buried in my heart completely disappeared. 4. After restoring the things, I took a deep breath for half a minute, opened the door and left home. Back to the hotel, I couldn't wait to open the video screen. Bought at a high price, it is clear, every picture can be taken completely. In this way, more than 2 hours passed, and my wife came home. I frowned and looked at my wife in the surveillance. The black silk she wore when she went out was gone. Boom. A thunder exploded in my mind, and my hands began to tremble, slowly spreading to my whole body. The owner of the black car is more likely to be the man in the video. My wife looked no different from usual when she returned home. After putting down her bag, she went to the bathroom, took a shower, came out of the room and started to make a phone call. My wife's face showed a smile from time to time. I was angry that this camera was not equipped with a recording, otherwise, I must listen to what this woman said. Gritting my teeth, I plugged in my phone and monitored my wife's movements in real time. Unfortunately, my wife didn't make any abnormal movements until the night. I frowned, and my eyes were full of red bloodshot at this moment. I put down my phone, took a deep breath, washed up, and went to bed. Anyway, the monitoring content will be stored in the cloud disk. I bought a membership for the cloud disk, and I will not miss any surveillance videos every day. As long as she moves at home, I will definitely find it and catch evidence. Lying on the bed, I fell asleep and dreamed that my wife cheated in front of me and shouted at me to get out and divorce. The men also fought with me, and I fought with my life. When I opened my eyes, I was sweating all over. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and lost my sleep. Normally, I can sleep until more than 8 o'clock. I took out my phone and turned on the monitoring. This miniature camera has night vision function, and there was no sign of my wife on the bed in the master bedroom. I immediately became alert and started to look for previous videos. Soon, at 2 o'clock in the morning, my wife went out with full makeup on. At 12 o'clock, my wife got up to put on makeup. During this time, she was on the phone and kissed the other end of the phone. After watching the surveillance with a frown, I suppressed my anxiety. Since she left, the surveillance has been empty. Until now, my wife has not come back. I kept thinking about what she would do when she went out. Was she having a tryst with that man, or was she with another man? The more I thought about it, the more confused I became. I simply downloaded a mobile game and started playing. However, the game still couldn't calm me down. Instead, I became more irritable and lost the game one after another. Throwing down the phone, I stared blankly at the sky outside that was gradually getting brighter, and my mind recalled the time when I first met my wife Meng Yuehan. That year, I had just graduated from the Department of Finance, and Meng Yuehan was about to take the graduation exam. One studied dance and the other studied finance. They were not on the same channel at all. There should be no chance of contact, but fate is so coincidental. At a gathering of friends, I was half drunk, and she was threatened by the leader of the dance school that if she didn't come out to drink with me, she would not be allowed to get her diploma. When drinking, the school leader of Meng Yuehan touched her and beat her after being rejected. She was forced to rush out of the private room. And she just bumped into me who was walking to the private room. I was a little irritable in my half-drunk state, but when I saw Meng Yuehan in a messy dress in front of me, I sobered up instantly. She said sorry to me and wanted to continue running, but the school leader came out and held her down. 5 Perhaps because of the wine, the school leader directly spoke the threat in front of me. I couldn't get my graduation certificate. But I never thought that things would develop like this. With a long sigh, I walked out the door and found a bar near the hotel to drink alone. This was the most I had drunk in the past year. When I returned to the bed in the hotel, it was already 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I picked up my phone from the bed. There were 2 calls in it, both from my wife. I adjusted my state a little and called back. Wife, I was just discussing cooperation with a partner. I drank and put my phone aside on silent mode. I didn't notice your call. The video was connected. My wife was wearing home clothes and her other hand was untying her hair. It's okay. I just saw you for so long without sending me a message. I'm a little uncomfortable. Just be busy. Try to drink less. It's too harmful to your body. Meng Yuhan's face showed a touch of heartache, but my heart was full of sarcasm. Feel sorry for me. This look is really like pretending. If you really feel sorry, why did you cheat? I was screaming in my heart, and my breathing became heavier. It's okay, don't worry, I will control the degree. You see, although I don't look good, I can talk to you, isn't it okay? I made a joke, chatted for a while, and then hung up the phone with the excuse of going to sleep. After hanging up, I immediately opened the monitoring interface and watched my wife's every move after hanging up the phone. She put down her phone, seemed to sigh, then lay on the bed, took out her phone and played. She smiled from time to time. Because of the angle, I couldn't know what she was doing with her phone. But I felt so uncomfortable in my heart, and at this moment I thought that if I didn't open that website, would it not be like this? Thinking of this, I suddenly realized that the website was also one of the evidences that could be updated. Then, would my wife update the video during the time she went out? I immediately opened the website, and sure enough, my wife updated it. The update time was yesterday. With trembling hands, I clicked on the video, and in the video, my wife appeared in a hotel. 6. The video was 15 minutes in total, and my eyes were red after watching it. What my wife did was unforgivable. At the end of the video, when my wife left the hotel, I was stunned. The name of the hotel flashed by, and the environment outside. Isn't it the hotel where I am? The phone fell to the ground, and I sat on the bed with a puff of blood. Lying on the bed, my consciousness gradually blurred. When I regained consciousness again, it was already 11 o'clock in the evening, the sky was dark, and the surroundings became quiet. There is no nightlife in Gucheng. Basically, people in Gucheng have gone home after 10 o'clock, washed up and went to bed. I cleaned up the bloodstains and turned on the surveillance with my phone. In the video, my wife lay on the bed and fell asleep. I started to check the surveillance that I hadn't seen in the previous period. Everything was normal, but she kept calling. Half a month passed like this. During this period, Meng Yuhan went out a total of 6 times, almost every time she went out in the middle of the night. My heart gradually became cold, and I was not surprised by her situation. My heart was dead, and Meng Yuhan would not make me too much waves no matter what she did. And the most, I wanted to find evidence of her cheating with that man. In fact, my idea is to catch them in the act. I want to rush into the house when Meng Yuhan and that man are having a tryst, and teach this couple a lesson. I want a divorce. This kind of woman is no longer worthy of being my wife. Today, I got up as usual and turned on the video surveillance, watching Meng Yuhan's every move from time to time. And this time, she was putting on makeup. I thought she was going out, but after putting on makeup, Meng Yuhan made a phone call and then started to change clothes. From the secret cabinet under the bed, Meng Yuhan took out a black bag, found a battle robe from it, put it on skillfully, and waited quietly. I frowned, realizing that this might be an opportunity. It's my chance to expose this couple. I waited for half an hour, and finally, Meng Yuhan opened the door. A man walked in. Through the camera, I saw the man's face clearly. This man turned out to be Meng Yuhan's original school teacher. Wang Hao. I couldn't believe it. Wang Hao was a huge help to me and Meng Yuhan. If he hadn't stepped forward at that time and testified as a witness to what the school leaders had done, I'm afraid the balance of victory would not have tilted so easily to us. However, Wang Hao is a role model for teachers. Although he is a male dance teacher, he is completely sensible to students and is a famous teacher in the industry. He has been in the industry for 5 years and has taught many amazing students. Unexpectedly, he actually had an affair with Meng Yuhan. What on earth is going on? My brain was ready to work well, and the next scene made my scalp numb. Meng Yuhan cheated right in front of me. I took a deep breath, sorted myself out, looked at them on the surveillance, turned off the screen and rushed to the door of my house. After more than half a month of hard work, I'm finally going to make it. Meng Yuhan, Wang Hao, the end of you two bastards has come. I specially prepared a gift in my hand, pretending to have just come back to give a surprise. I took out the key, took a deep breath, and quietly turned the door open. As soon as I entered the door, Meng Yuhan's voice came into my ears. I controlled my shaking body, and my eyes were full of anger. 7. We rushed into the bedroom quickly. Meng Yuhan. What the hell are you doing? I cursed loudly, standing at the door with round eyes and burning anger. The shouting made the bastard stop instantly. Meng Yuhan screamed, turned her head and looked at me, her eyes were full of panic. Old husband, why are you back? Her voice was trembling, and she was at a loss what to do with her body. Why am I back? If I don't come back, will I not find you like this? Meng Yuhan. How can I let you down? I threw the gift in my hand to the ground, rushed up and slapped Meng Yuhan in the face, then pushed her away, staring at Wang Hao who was lying on the bed with a fearless face. Teacher Huang. Still lying. Seeing his appearance, I couldn't control my anger at all, and punched him directly in the face. Wang Hao, who was originally dismissive, panicked after being hit a few times, and kept holding his head and begging for mercy. I was so angry that I couldn't hear his voice at all. Husband, stop hitting me. Stop hitting me. Seeing me so crazy, Meng Yuhan rushed over and hugged me tightly from behind, trying to stop me. But in my current situation, 10 Meng Yuhans couldn't stop me. With a force, I threw her directly to the ground, and continued to hit her with fists. Wang Hao's face was covered with blood and he wailed for mercy. Finally, there was no movement. I ran out of strength, sat on the ground panting, and started to call the police. Meng Yuhan was already scared when she saw Wang Hao on the ground. The police and ambulance came quickly. The ambulance took Wang Hao away, and the police car took Meng Yuhan and me away. Tell me, what's the situation? The police officer seemed to see the situation, with a little sympathy in his eyes. Officer, my wife cheated on me, and they are together. I have evidence. I breathed a sigh of relief and gradually calmed down. Calm down, tell me everything slowly. The officer was very patient. I slowly told him everything I had done, and the officer nodded, asked me to wait here, and then left the interrogation room. After about half an hour, the officer came over and uncuffed me, and took me to another interrogation room. The person sitting there was Meng Yuhan. Husband. Husband. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. As soon as I entered the interrogation room, Meng Yuhan cried at me as if she had grabbed a life-saving straw, saying over and over again that she was wrong. Quiet. Did I ask you to speak? The officer shouted, and Meng Yuhan shut up. Meng Yuhan, Wang Rui's confession said that you cheated on your former dance teacher Wang Hao during your marriage. Do you admit it? Meng Yuhan stared at me with tears falling. I admit it. Her voice was weak, as if these two words drained all her strength. Officer, I want to talk to her, can I? Hearing Meng Yuhan admit it, I asked the officer next to me. Sure, go ahead. The officer spread his hands, picked up the teacup and drank it, while I took a deep breath and turned my head to look at Meng Yuhan, who was handcuffed and sitting in the interrogation chair. Meng Yuhan, tell me why you did this, and where did I let you down and make you like this? 8. My tone was calm, even mixed with coldness. Husband, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I let you down, please, forgive me, and please don't do stupid things. Meng Yuhan was shaking with tears, and I looked at her without saying a word. I want to hear her reasons. Wang Hao threatened me, do you remember the class reunion about 2 months after we got married? After a while, Meng Yuhan started to talk. I nodded, motioning her to continue. I was drunk at the party and didn't know anything. When I woke up, I slept with Wang Hao. He also took photos of me and threatened me to be obedient in the future, otherwise he would send the photos to you. Meng Yuhan started crying again. I clenched my fists. I didn't expect that things would unfold like this. I don't want you to know about this. After taking measures, I swear that the content on my phone that night was sent to you by Wang Hao using my phone. I continued to nod, thinking back to the message she sent me that night, saying that she stayed in a hotel with several female classmates, and they were all drunk, so I agreed to stay together. I didn't have any doubts about her at the time. At that time, the company asked me to go on a business trip, and I was so busy that I ignored Meng Yuhan's status. Later, Wang Hao became more and more aggressive, making various requests to me, and the frequency became more and more frequent. I had more and more handles in his hands. The things on the internet were also his requests, and I didn't get a penny of the money I earned on it. Meng Yuhan finished speaking, covering her head and crying. I greeted the police officer with an indifferent look and left the interrogation room. "Brother, please accept my condolences. There is nothing we can do. This is the way the world is. If you want to blame someone, blame Wang Hao. You broke his face and he has multiple fractures. He has woken up now. Someone has been sent to interrogate him. I guess it won't be long before this matter is resolved." The police officer sympathized with my situation. After leaving the interrogation room, he patted my shoulder and advised me. "Officer, it was wrong for me to hit someone. I plead guilty." After hearing about Wang Hao's situation, I realized that I needed to take responsibility for my impulse at the time. "Don't worry. It's not your fault. Find a lawyer." After that, the police officer left and asked me to go back and wait for the notice. I walked aimlessly on the street with empty eyes, not knowing what to do at all. After walking and stopping, a law firm appeared in front of me. It seemed like it was destined by heaven. I smiled, went in to find a lawyer, and submitted all the evidence. The lawyer promised to make Meng Yuhan leave the house and put Wang Hao in jail. I nodded and went back to the hotel to sleep for 2 days. Finally, the notice arrived. I walked back to the police station, and in the interrogation room, I saw Wang Hao with gauze wrapped around his face. Wang Hao was immediately excited when he saw me. "Police comrade, it's him. He hit me." My anger rose again, and I rushed forward, raised my fist and was about to hit him, but the 2 police officers next to me quickly stopped me. Wang Hao was so scared that he trembled all over, and the clamoring look just now disappeared. "Wang Hao, tell me everything you did, confess, and you will be treated leniently," the police officer shouted, staring at Wang Hao. "What can I do? I went to visit my student's home, and he came in and attacked me without knowing the truth." As soon as I said this, I struggled while being held down. At this time, Wang Hao was still thinking of cheating. 9. Wang Hao. You are a grown man. You dare to do it, but you don't dare to take responsibility. I yelled, staring at him. What? What are you talking about? Why can't I understand? Wang Hao was still stirring up trouble, and he didn't look like he wanted to confess. Wang Hao. Still not honest. Meng Yuhan confessed everything. The police officer sitting on the interrogation table slammed the table, stood up, pointed at Wang Hao and yelled. Wang Hao shuddered, and there was a trace of panic in his eyes. Haha, impossible, absolutely impossible, what to confess? I'm just a guest, a teacher going to a student's home, what's wrong with that? Wang Hao was still holding on to a fluke mentality. You really won't turn back until you hit the wall, so I'll make you give up. The police officer was extremely dissatisfied with Wang Hao's appearance. He stood up and turned on the projector, and the blogger's homepage of Meng Yuhan's website was projected out. Wang Hao panicked instantly. His body trembled, and his voice trembled. Officer, I'll tell you, it was Meng Yuhan, the bad woman, who seduced me. She asked me to cooperate with her to shoot a video. I was thinking about this good thing, so I agreed. What I said is true. Wang Hao's words made me and the police officer frown at the same time. Now, it's a dog-eat-dog situation between him and Meng Yuhan. Okay, Wang Hao, remember what you said. Leniency for confession and severity for resistance. Remember? We will investigate it clearly. Once we find that you are lying, then you are a false confession, and your crime will be aggravated. The police officer said calmly, turned around and took me away. In the interrogation room, Wang Hao's face was extremely gloomy, as if he was thinking about something. The police officer and I came to Meng Yuhan's interrogation room again. Meng Yuhan, Wang Hao confessed that you seduced him. What do you have to say? The police officer's words made Meng Yuhan cry again, and she began to provide things with evidence. For example, Wang Hao's mobile phone, network disk, and the account of that website. The police officer immediately started investigating, and I sat in the interview room waiting. Soon the police officer came over and told me I could go back. Wang Rui, the matter has been investigated. Meng Yuhan told the truth. She was indeed threatened by Wang Hao, so she did something stupid. If you can forgive her, Meng Yuhan can be released without guilt. Before leaving, the police officer came over again, followed me to the door of the police station, lit a cigarette, and started chatting. Comrade, how long can Wang Hao be sentenced? For Meng Yuhan, I don't care anymore. Whether she was threatened or not, it doesn't matter at this moment. I can't say this, but you can go back and talk to Meng Yuhan again tomorrow. After all, she was forced, threatened, etc. If there is a lawyer. Before he finished speaking, the police officer crushed the cigarette in his hand, put it in his pocket, and hurried back to the station. I nodded and bowed 3 times to his back. The next day, I came to the visiting center and saw Meng Yuhan again. Hubby, I was really threatened. Please believe me. Meng Yuhan cried and slapped the glass, her face full of grievance. Meng Yuhan, you are an adult and you can call the police. Don't say you didn't know. I came here to inform you that we are getting divorced. 10. I yelled in anger, sat back on the chair, and stared at Meng Yuhan, who was standing there in a daze. No. I'm sorry, husband, please forgive me, I know I was wrong. Hearing the word divorce, Meng Yuhan cried even harder. We can't continue, I can't accept what you did. I shook my head, my eyes red. It would be a lie to say that there was no ripple. After I knew she was threatened, my heart broke the ice, but I still couldn't forgive her. No. Meng Yuhan was crying and couldn't speak. I have a way to save you from going to jail, but after you get out, you need to divorce me. I took a deep breath and told her the purpose of coming here. Meng Yuhan finally recovered. She looked at me with swollen eyes. Husband, you said, I will cooperate with you, I don't want to go to jail. She seemed to have regained her sanity, and her words finally sorted out the importance. I need you to go to court to accuse Wang Hao of everything he did to you. I want this damn bastard to spend his whole life in jail. I gritted my teeth and said that it was Wang Hao, this bastard, who ruined my originally happy family. Meng Yuhan thought for a while and nodded in agreement. Husband, I will cooperate with you, but can't you give me another chance? I don't want to divorce you. I shook my head. I can't accept you, no way. After that, I left the visitation center and found a lawyer to start handling the court. I went to the police station to sign a letter of forgiveness, and Meng Yuhan was released. She followed me eagerly, not leaving a step. I'll leave the house to you. I can't live in this place anymore. Walking in front, I spoke coldly. Meng Yuhan nodded with tears, and didn't ask for forgiveness again. It seemed that she knew that the divorce was a foregone conclusion. 3 days later, the court opened the trial of Wang Hao's case. Meng Yuhan and I sat in the plaintiff's seat, and our lawyers kept accusing Wang Hao of various crimes. On Wang Hao's side, there was no lawyer willing to take over his case. The judge made the final decision, and all Wang Hao's charges were established. In the end, Wang Hao was sentenced to 25 years in prison, deprived of political rights, confiscated all property, and half of the property was given to me, the victim. The other half of the property was given to Meng Yuhan. The next day, Meng Yuhan and I divorced, and Meng Yuhan took half of Wang Hao's property in our house and left me completely. The matter was settled, and I just felt extremely relaxed, and everything seemed to have returned to normal. After leaving Guqing, I returned to my hometown Yangqing and returned to my parents' bungalow. Now I have no idea of struggling. I put the money in the bank, and live a life of eating, drinking, and having fun every day. Later, 2 years later, Meng Yuhan actually called me. She said that she was getting married and wanted me to attend the wedding. I refused without thinking. After hanging up the phone, I continued my life. 3 days later, a team of police came to my house. Wang Rui, Meng Yuhan's last phone call was to you. We want to know what you said. I was shocked and frowned. She said she was getting married and asked me to attend her wedding. I told the police the content of the call and handed over my phone for the criminal investigation officers to decipher. Meng Yuhan is dead. She lied to me when she said she was getting married. When she said this, she was standing on the roof of a building more than 20 stories high. I hung up the phone and she jumped down. The criminal investigation team retrieved the content of the call and cleared all suspicions about me. My life is back on track, and Meng Yuhan has completely become a thing of the past, a thing that I don't want to mention in my heart.